Hello and welcome to this special edition of The Culture Show, coming to you from the opening party of this year's summer exhibition here at the Royal Academy of Arts in London.
The summer exhibition's unique, the biggest open submission art show in the world. Anyone can enter and potentially see their work on the walls of the Royal Academy. It's also the longest running art event, held every year since 1769. It's always had its critics, but it's a much-loved British institution.
Tonight we're going to be joined by Janet Street Porter, Grayson Perry and others to talk about this year's summer exhibition and to find out how, despite wars, rationing and recessions, it's managed just to keep going for 241 years. Tonight we follow 4 artists hoping to get their pictures selected for the show. Andrew loves their work, but will it make it through the judging process?
We go behind the scenes as this unique show starts to take shape.
And we listen in as the judges of this year's Wollaston Award for the most important artwork in the exhibition reach their decision.
Wonder who it's going to be. I think we're about to find out.
We'll be announcing the winner of the £25,000 prize later in the programme. Plus, to play us out at the end of the show, the woman who by now must be getting tired of being called the coolest person on the planet, Beth Ditto and her band Gossip.
Now, as I mentioned, one of the things that sets the summer exhibition apart from most other shows is that it allows you, me, anyone who wants to send in art to be considered.
The people who decide what gets into the show are the elected members of the Royal Academy, the academicians, who are all extremely eminent artists and architects.
Now, I'm sure they've done a fantastic job, but I still thought it might be interesting to rifle through some of the work myself, to pick out some pieces I thought were special and just see whether any of my favourites could make it into the final show. Now, they've never let me do this before, but this year the Academy's allowed me in for a secret peek at all the art that's made the first cut. I'm going to pit my critical wits against the academicians to see if I can find a masterpiece among the massive entries, or at least 1 or 2 works that end up on the walls of the final exhibition. I'm down in the vaults of the Royal Academy, the bowels, and we've got to that point where 10,000 open submission entries have been reduced to just 1,061 hopefuls. Maybe yes, maybe no. Now, the great dream is that one day a star will be born through the open submissions process at the Royal Academy Summer Show. And I'm here to see if I can pick out who that might be. But how are nearly 10,000 entries whittled down to just over 1,000?
Good luck.
People come from all over the world to submit year after year.
I've done this since I was 18 and I've never got in yet.
They bring prints, photographs, sculptures, drawings and hundreds of paintings.
Can I hold you up photo? Yeah.
Just put it down.
Where shall I leave it?
Pass it to me, I'll take that.
Have it very carefully, it's my
That's
baby.
it, all right.
It all gets scrutinised by a panel of academicians going at an average rate of 4 works a minute. It can come across as a bit of a zoo.
Is that our first elephant?
Everything gets very, very careful consideration. Sometimes we just stop and talk and argue about a picture.
Here's one for Aaron. Where is she?
It's exhausting because you're really looking very, very intensely at every single work, looking for something.
Yes?
Then, in line with Royal Academy tradition, all the possibles are sent off to the vaults, marked with a letter D.
The ones that have made the shortlist, we call them Ds, which is kind of a very ancient word. It's either, it stands for deferred or doubtful or something.
It's too bad. Do you want I think I'll have it, yeah.
Sorry.
This is what they call repository for category D work. And it's here that the 1,061 possibles are to be found. So, shall we begin? Only half the work in this room is likely to get through, but I'm going to try and pick out 4 things that I hope will all make it into the show. Maybe. Ooh. Yeah, you're giving it to me upside down. You obviously don't like it. OK, keep going. Let's keep going. I'm sure brilliance will speak to us. Oh, I like that. Quite virtuoso. It's a charcoal drawing, modernist architecture in a labyrinth of trees with a sort of zone of spiritual possibility in the middle. Actually, it's quite a sort of Renaissance composition in its way, he says, very pretentiously. But no, I like that. No. Should we keep going through there for a little bit? Let's just see. Come on, lucky dip. Lucky dip. Actually, that's rather good. In the style of the sort of Billy Bunter comics. It reminds me of Rupert the Bear, done in what looks like wax. I think it's done in encaustic, which is this medium that the ancient Egyptians used.
No.
OK, well, we'll keep... Can you mark that one?
Yeah.
I want to see what's behind this, these blankets. I'm intrigued by this. This looks like it... I know what this is going to be. This is going to be an altarpiece. A gold ground altarpiece. Oh, no, it isn't. It's a photograph of a bloke in a wood. It's a very large... Is that a massive Cibachrome? Do you always have to have a reason for choosing something? I guess you do if you're a critic, but hey, I'll just take my critic's hat off and I'll choose it because I like it. It's kind of terrifying, isn't it? The sheer amount of art being created. Oh, I like this. Yeah, I definitely like that. That's one of those images that hits you. I like this sort of allusion to Moses and the burning bush. It's quite a mysterious image. I think that's it. From 1,061 runners to my 4 tips. But I'm happy with them.
But one of the things that's important to remember about this kind of process is that when you see a new artist's work, normally you experience it in the context of an exhibition of their work, or at least 3 or 4 things by them. So you get a sense of their personality as an artist. Here, you're having to judge just on one image. Now, out of all the images here, you know, I'm kind of confident that most of these will get through to the final exhibition, but I can't say that I'm sure because they've got a fighting chance. But a lot of works will never hang. The walls will fill up and there won't be space for them. But fingers crossed.
Nice choice, Andrew. We'll be following the progress of those 4 artists tonight, and we'll find out later whether they make it into the final show.
Of course, the summer exhibition isn't just about this democratic, open submission process. It's also a showcase for new work by some of the art world's biggest names, including members of the Royal Academy. We caught up with a couple of academicians, painter John Hoyland and sculptor Alan Jones, both legends of the 60s art scene, as they got ready for this year's exhibition.
Hi, come in.
Meet John Hoyland. He's one of the UK's leading abstract painters. And he's been an academician for 18 years. But there was a time when his art was deemed far too racy for the Royal Academy.
It was ordered off the walls by the president when I had my degree show. I wasn't the only abstract painter, but I was the one that Sir Charles Wheeler, in his great wisdom, found the most objectionable.
Meet Alan Jones. He lives in the same building.
OK, I'm afraid it's up on the top floor. One more floor, OK.
In the 60s, he was one of the most famous pop artists in the world, known primarily for his sexy sculptures featuring women in compromising positions. He too had a run-in with the establishment as a student and was expelled from the Royal College of Art. But in 1986, Alan Jones became a Royal Academician.
The Academy was being run by essentially the people who had been the faculty at the Royal College of Art when I had been briefly a student. And so it was quite interesting to be asked to join by people who had asked you to leave.
Now both firmly at the heart of the British art establishment, these 2 former bad boys are making new work for this year's summer exhibition.
I seldom miss a year. In theory, if an academician misses 6 years, he can